What's up, everybody? It's Red Element here, and I'm going to be taking you on a tour of our RedCraft server that I'm on right now. And we're going to get you caught up with everything because in between updating to 1.16 and just life in general with the way things are in America right now, a lot of the recordings just didn't happen. So we're going to jump into it and just kind of go over everything that's happening at my base, take a look at some of the stuff that other players have going on around here, and just kind of get up to date. So this right here is my base. We went well away from spawn and kind of picked this island, just mainly because it's easier to light, but it was still big enough to kind of contain a lot of stuff. This is eventually going to be our house. It's one of the first things I started, and it'll probably be the last thing I finish. Over here, we've got a villager-powered crop farm, 2 layers of potatoes, 1 layer of carrots. Cut that noise off. And then up here we have a melon and pumpkin farm. Now, our storage down below is completely full, so what this actually does, we've got all these hoppers here, and I've redirected them to go over here to this composter array. That then gets fed into this main storage here, which goes into this whole dropper system here. Follows along and ends up going into our central storage, which is under the house. All the how'd you spawn in here? I'll deal with that later. All our high value things are kept up top here, where we have filters that allow for only a single item to be kept in the filter, and then we also have these lamps to indicate fullness. Everything else goes to more general storage, including these here. And up top we've just got a shulker unloader, and then that's our flow chest. But the only other things that are connected to it right now are this wool farm. This is based on concept video Mango made a while ago. Oh no, I lost a sheep. Oh, I didn't notice that. I gotta deal with that now. But regardless of that, how did it get out? It must have despawned. I'll have to name these. But yeah, so they're single cells. The fence gate keeps them separated, so one dispenser can shear 2 sheep, and they don't collide. The entities don't collide, so we don't have a lot of lag coming off of that. And then it just goes to this unloader here, and again going into a dropper, which goes into the storage. This is a honey farm, again, El Mango. I haven't done anything special with it yet. Over here we have a chicken cooker, which 1.16 kind of made pointless with the new Huglin Farms. This is a bee breeder and honeycomb farm. Over here we got an iron farm, and this one's actually based on Nimbomb. Going into here, and I need to work on my overflow for it as well, so I don't have entities just hanging out on the server lagging it. Next up we've got the villager breeder. I forget who came up with this whole crop farm concept, same as over there, but I think it was Tango Tech, maybe? I came up with this whole system here. Or Logical Geek, this might have actually I don't remember. I think it was Tango Tig. It was one of the hermits. But anyway, this is Logical Geek Boy, I believe. We kind of came up with this whole system here where they're flushed down here away from the breeder so the beds free up. And then when they grow up, their heads hit this area here, they float up, boom. And then they come down here to storage where I have this interesting looking block of villagers. This is the God machine. I bring it here, throw it on a workstation until I get what I want. Right now we only have the library, which has all of our librarian villagers with the books that we need. Except for this guy who I'm going to have to remove. He's just an extra paper trade. But now that 1.16's out, we're going to have to get a soul speed villager. And that's it for the main island. Now we've got the slime farm. This is a design that I'm pretty sure El Mango proofed it. I've been using it since Bedrock. But yeah, it does decently well. I've got these collectors here. And then I've built, they all go into these minecart unloaders and get dispensed into these water streams. And then they make their way up to this little AFK shack I made where they're put into storage. And I apparently need to work on my overflow for it as well. Yep, pretty soon. Then the latest additions to the main island anyway. We stripped down this island over here for what we're calling the factory. This is Il Mango's tree farm. This is Il Mango's tree farm. It is the 5 type. Birch, oak, spruce, acacia, and jungle. Although acacia doesn't really work. I might get 2 or 3 trees out of here before this double piston extender here that pushes the logs out. Sometimes acacias will spawn trees like here or here, and they get stuck to these honey blocks. So when this whole machine retracts, it leaves those pistons out. And I haven't figured out a way around that yet. But on the back side here, I also took out his height detection. I was having a lot of trouble with the tree height detection and a couple of other problems with things related to the whole back half of this farm. So I tore all that out. And instead of compressing the trees down and sending them out, I actually sent mine up. Brought them over here. This is his cobblestone and basalt generator, and I built the basalt obviously because these look the most like steel I-beams to me. And then this is going to be wiring for a control center. But they're going into these central conveyors. This over here is the concrete generator. It has cobblestone coming out of it right now just because I used that to finish pushing my concrete over into my blast chamber. I attempted to build his 240 block blast chamber, and I just could not get the thing to work right, no matter how hard I tried. I think I spent upwards of 20 hours on that thing, and I just couldn't get it to function. So what I did was I adapted this design that Mumbo Jumbo came up with for his concrete blast chamber. And instead of just turning it on and just letting it blast until I cut it off, I put this observer here to read how many blocks pass here. And then it uses this dropper counter. And then after, I believe it's 20 I think it's 32 blocks. It triggers this here, this TNT duper, which drops the TNT here. This piston, when that happens, is obviously retracted. TNT lands here. It fuses. Once the timing's up, it pushes it down, and it blows up right around here. And since I'm not using dispensers, I don't really care about the efficiency. This just works. And after some tweaking with the timing and aligning and stuff like that, I was able to get this thing almost 100% reliable. I haven't had it blow up on me in a while now. I think I finally nailed that down. I might do a tutorial on how to actually build this, because it's been the most reliable blast chamber I've had on our paper server so far. And then we obviously built a big central storage here. This covers right now the basalt cobblestone, all the woods, and then all the colors of concrete until I add more things. Because I'm going to add some, start farming some of the fungus trees, you know, the crimson and the warped fungus trees, stems or whatever they're called. I'm going to put some of those automatic ones here to get shroom lights and things like that. Plus I'm going to put a nylium generator. I'm going to add that to this. That way I can also generate nylium from netherrack, which is more or less like a nether dirt machine, but I'm going to need that for future projects. So then that takes us to, I believe that's everything. Yeah, that's everything on the island. I can show you some nearby farms. Okay, so now we're here at our Guardian farm. It's still also a work in progress. I got to put glass in here, which hopefully will prevent the damn Enderman from taking my sand and causing those little water spouts. But this is Iscal 85's design here. I think he made it in HermitCraft season 5 or 6, I don't remember. But it's a really great design, and it still is working like a charm. You get great spawn rates out of this thing. Built this little kill chamber down here. Some XP I didn't pick up apparently. We've got items all throughout here, lots of shards, lots of crystals, as well as some fish, things like that. Oh, that's the storage clicker. I should cut that off when I leave. But anyway, I might not have been the last one to use it. So here we have KJ 1994's base. I think he's our only UK member. Looks like he's got I guess he's going to build this as a furnace array. I'm not 100% certain what his plan is here. But he's got himself a water-based mob farm, dispenser-based. And he is building his base out over what was a monument. You can still see the pillar there for it back here. And some over there, which, since that's inside, he's probably getting spawns in there. Yeah, he is. But he's slowly draining this thing out. I don't know what the redstone about there is about, and it looks like he was trying to sweep this with the water sweepers that Il Mango designed. But it looks like he built his stations wrong. Not sure what happened here. Maybe, I guess it didn't activate. Looks like he left this sand block up here, which messed it up. But yeah, it looks like he's trying to drain. He's still working on draining it. And that's about the end of his base so far. Except for these crazy floating shulkers. I don't know what his plan is there. Okay, so this is my AFK Dirt Hut. And here we just have flying machines. They sweep out, and then these observers here actually go down here. They activate these redstone, which activates these two bone meal dispensers. Now, instead of collecting the flowers from both sides, all the sweep from this direction here, they go into these composters here and generate compost, which then goes down the line on this middle set of hoppers. Yeah, on this set of hoppers here, which then go into this dropper tower here and over into this chest. And then on its return trip back to this main station here, that's where the flowers are actually collected. And those hoppers feed down here to this little bubble vader here to fill these chests. The stations can be stopped in either direction. All it does is open up those trapdoors. That way it doesn't update the observer when it comes back. It really wants to rain in my world. But yeah, you can see as the fly machine sweeps over, it triggers the observer to bone meal the grass. And then it's all pushed into here and collected in its droppers. And then, like I said, everything on this side gets bone mealed or composted. Everything except for that. And that's actually why I have the overkill on the hoppers. For some reason on our server, I guess with the hopper cooldown or something like that, these really don't want to pick up. And since they don't always pick it up before the flying machine hits this wall, it'll actually clip flowers down here. That's also why I put this concrete on this hopper line, because flowers were coming up here getting in the bone meal system and they were jamming up the dispensers. It doesn't generate enough bone meal to fully restock the system, but it comes very, very close. If I made this longer, I don't think that the problem with making it longer is the longer it is, the more dispensers I need, and the more dispensers I need, the more bone meal I need. So it's kind of a zero-sum game. But so far, this has actually seemed to have worked out the best. I only have to come here with like maybe 3 shulker boxes of bone meal or so after running this farm AFK for like 12 hours. And it's always on this far end here that is actually the problem. Now this witch farm was developed by Ray's Works, and getting this thing working was kind of a pain in the ass. So other than just getting these Zoglins in here, which the Silence Mob plugin doesn't seem to work with Zoglins, but just getting these things in here was annoying. But what actually was the problem was this top layer here. He says to take this top layer and build it at the roof of the witch farm. And that, for whatever reason, I don't know if it was because of just where this witch farm generated or maybe some change since he made the tutorial or whatever, but this bottom layer here was just outside of the bounding box. It was 1 block lower. So everything spawning down here was creepers, skeletons, zombies, and all that. And it just kept killing my hoglins. So eventually I had to actually open up Fabric Loader and Bounding Box and all of that, and then pop in here and figured out that this layer right here had to be 2 blocks lower, and then all of these had to shift down 2 blocks lower. And then that was actually the secret to getting this thing working properly. And then I kind of had to tweak because of our particular configuration on the server, I had to just kind of build up and then have somebody AFK up there while the camera account was on. We could just monitor the spawn, and we just kind of lowered the tower until they weren't despawning when they hit, by the time they hit these minecarts and suffocated. We also had to come in here and do some clearing out, because with the height we were still getting spawns in these areas here. This is actually a little bit overkill. Now this one here is a Huglin Farm. It was also designed by Works. I messed up when I first built this thing, and for these light sources here, instead of pumpkins, jack-o'-lanterns, I used sea lanterns, and I built this entire thing and spent probably 2 hours troubleshooting why I wasn't getting hoglins. I played with my AFK platform, was checking the biome and all of that, and just no success anywhere until I realized, of course, nothing spawns on sea lanterns. Now this right here is the downside of this farm that I haven't quite figured out yet. These baby hoglins survive. The big guys die every time. But these babies, they fall through here, they burn, and they just don't die. And I haven't quite figured out why that is yet. It hasn't been a problem yet, but it just seems like a waste. And that's it. I mean, as always, standard, kind of minecart unloaders. And this thing produces crazy amounts of leather and pork chop. Of course, pork chop. I'm holding it. This is probably one of my favorite farms so far, because I really needed leather. And cow farming is just a real pain. Alright, and so the last thing that I'm going to show you, I'm not going to worry about showing any more bases. Fresh and Stillberg and Bezchin, they have bases out there that, our newest member Lizzie, she also has a base, but I'm not going to worry about showing those. The last thing I'm going to show is this Enderman farm. It was our first, other than the spider spawner farm, which I'm not going to bother showing because who hasn't seen a million of those. This was our first major XP farm. We built this before the Guardian farm. And even though it's extremely, it's a simple build, this right here was just such a pain in the ass. This little endermite. I do still have the video of building this. I'll probably do some highlights on it, but just getting that little thing was just such a pain in my ass. But this thing produces like crazy. I mean, this is an Ilmango design, and you definitely need to find it. It still works in 1.16, and it's just a crazy, easy to make XP farm. And if you need ender pearls, I mean, this thing's got you covered. And that's going to kind of conclude the tour. I think I've covered pretty much everything that there is to cover so far. The server's only about a month old, so there's not a lot happening on it yet, but we got big plans for the future. I mean, like I said, we're going to have piston bolts in the nether. We're going to have, I got a gold farm coming up pretty soon. I'm going to be building this thing up. I'm going to be finishing the factory. Oh, I did forget about this, but I mean, it's not that big of a deal. This over here is just a simple kelp farm. Flying machine kelp farm. I built this back when we were still 1.15.2, and honestly, it does what it needs to. I'm not going to worry about the bone meal kelp farm. I don't need any more kelp than this thing right here produces. For as little kelp as we actually use, it generates more than enough kelp, dried kelp. So I'm not too worried about updating that. Oh, and of course, how could I forget this? Our cocoa bean farm. Cocoa beans, bamboo. And the dead husks that of the AFK fish farm from 1.15.2 that I haven't cleared out. But that is really it. I'm officially done. So look forward to the factory. Look forward to the gold farm that's coming up in the nether over there. Yeah, I think that about covers it. We've gone over every farm, at least that I've built so far, and I'll probably be popping by some of the other members of the server's bases and videos in the future, I'm sure, dropping supplies off for stuff. We're also going to be setting up a shopping district really soon. Going to build a big Mall of America style building out there, and just try to kind of sell a little bit of everything, lease some space, get into real estate. But that's all for now, so appreciate you watching, and like and subscribe and all that other YouTube stuff. You know how to use YouTube.